It is 7:08 a.m. here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and we're joined here at 7:08 this morning with Councilman Jeff Griffith. Good morning there, Mr. Griffith. Let's pull that microphone there closer to you.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning. So I heard y'all got out early last night, or it seemed early.
Matt, it did seem early. It's kind of nice. Yeah. We've had a few of them that and budget's coming up, and some of those, gentlemen, sometimes those will go towards, till midnight. So it makes for a long day. But last night was pretty simple. We did do some good things. I feel like one thing I'd like to brag on is we were able to utilize some otherwise we some people would call them drug money or seized funds is the proper term.
Seized funds.
Yes, and that is
those are the best kind.
Yes, and that way it helps. We were able to fund our police department with some vehicles that they need for crime unit.
What kind of money are we talking about?
Oh gosh, it's I think the total it'll help us buy 4 different vehicles is over $150,000.
Okay, seized funds,
and so that's not our tax money, gentlemen. For a change,
what's the irony of that? You take the bad guy's money and you go buy police cars with it.
Right, exactly.
And great to live in America.
Every once in a while you get to brag about, hey, we did something and we didn't use the citizens' tax money.
Well, good deal. That's a good deal.
But we did have a great discussion. We had a work session about police department and the future of our police department as to how to change to, as the city's expanded, over 130 square miles. We have over 1,200 miles of streets, not just lanes, streets. But we have, as the city continues to grow, our chief and our city manager are highly recommending that we change, and we've already started some of this, to community policing.
Police stations, precincts.
Yes, eventually, Dave would have, the plan is we will have substations, if you will.
That sounds like a good idea. We're not a little town anymore that has
We can't act that way, and we got to get ahead of the game.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, as I've said many times on this show, in my 50-odd years here in Lubbock, Texas, I have never seen the growth exploding like it is now.
It doesn't look like it's going to stop. I mean,
no. What is it? Bloomberg says we were the number 4 city in America to find a job.
Yes.
I mean,
we need to brag about that.
That's
Thank
absolutely
you for bringing that
incredible.
Up. Yeah.
Little old Lubbock, Texas.
We were also highly ranked by another poll the other day of one of the best cities in America for millennials. Huh. So, yeah.
I didn't know that. Well,
young folks are enjoying our city.
Let me comment on something and get your response. And this is purely anecdotal, observational. But, doing this show, we consume a lot of news for the prep for the show. And I've just noticed that you see a crime occur on a Tuesday, and the criminals are picked up within a week usually. They find them. As yesterday, there was a story of this kid who was the third burglar, I think, that they had the other 2 in custody. Police picked him up.
Yes.
It just seems to me like, and again, purely anecdotal, that the LPD and the sheriff doing a great job of solving crimes. And I just wonder, are there any statistics to back that up that you're aware of?
I don't have great statistics on that. We do have finally a fully staffed police department. We have 433 positions now filled. And so I applaud our police chief on that. I also applaud our sheriff. We've got great administration of our police department and our sheriff's department. And so they work together very well. I think you'll see some bigger things come out of this futuristically with our law enforcement agencies around this area working together, because there's something we need to share with the citizens, and that is there is no doubt we need to be honest that we do have a problem with opioid epidemic, because heroin and meth all over this area. We've got to get our hands around that, and we've got to be very aggressive in that. 82% of crimes against property in our city are drug-related.
Not surprised to hear that.
Over 65%, the average jail population in our county jail, daily population, is drug-related. And this is probably not college kids that were caught smoking pot on the back of the apartment complex patio. This is serious drug issues. And so we do have a major initiative for this. And so I applaud our PD and our sheriff for their aggressive work. I'm very proud of who we have running our departments.
I have to confess that I am too. I'm very happy with the job they're doing. They seem to be doing.
Yeah, and I think you'll see more initiatives come out of that real soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and how are things going with the Citizens Tower?
Great question. Thanks for bringing that up, Matt. We are real close to, for Lee Lewis Construction, who is the construction manager, they will start probably in the next 30, 45 days. You'll really see a lot of work begin. And
they're all just stripping it down inside now?
Yeah, there's just a hair more. I say hair more. That's a bad term. There is still a little bit of demo left at the very top that's some mechanical. But we want to not bring a crane in and pull that out and then drop that crane and start with Lee Lewis Construction's crane when they start. So we're waiting so there's a hair more demo to be done before Lee Lewis Construction begins. They, or I should say, begins to actually renovate. We're excited of where we're headed. I think it's every day the plan is getting better.
Yeah, when we get back from this break, I want to talk more about how the Citizens Tower is going to be used by the city. Okay. It is 7:15 now, and we're talking with our Councilman Jeff Griffith this morning, who is our guest, and he's going to impart and is imparting some useful information to us. We will return with more after this. News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM. We are KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin, and we are happy to have City Councilman Jeff Griffith on as our guest this morning. Where are we going from here? What were we talking about? Citizens Tower. Okay. That's we got off during the break here talking about something else, and my mind went blank. But Citizens Tower, interesting deal. The city owns it. It is their, and it is yours, ours.
Yes, it is the citizens.
And
yes.
Lee Lewis is about to begin the process of remodeling the interior. Right now, they're in the demolition stage. That is a nice building. You know, I was in that building, have been in and out of that building for years. It's a nice building, and I know Glenn Robertson. We talked about that issue back when he was mayor, and he was talking about how many millions it would take to tear that building down.
About $15 million was our number of total demo. We bought the building for $1.2 million. We didn't, and that was a sour taste to pay that much because of the previous ownership, out of town, actually Houston-based ownership, but who was not taking care of it. And there was many stories about that. But the bottom line is, gentlemen, that it's 187,000 square feet, 1963 concrete. It survived the tornado incredibly, and I've got pictures to show it. It is
9 stories, isn't it?
11. With a basement. There's a 19,000 square foot basement under a parking lot that used to be the FDIC clearinghouse in the 60s.
Yeah.
And back when it was Citizens National Bank.
Right.
The neat thing is that we had structural engineers assure us that that building is designed for many, many decades of life. And again, it survived the tornado very well. But the neat deal is that we're going to be able to not just move a lot of city services there, that in fact, LPNL. Here's a perfect example. We're going to unify and have many city services all based in a city center environment. It's going to be more citizen friendly as far as building permits and vital statistics, and we're going to be able planning and zoning. City Secretary's office needs as far as permitting. We're going to be able to have a, if you will, on the ground floor, kind of a one-stop shop environment for city needs. But LPNL will be housed there also. So we're going to, where LPNL is, probably will be sold by the city.
Now,
it's on Broadway, that Lubbock Business Center building, and we believe because it's on Broadway, it has great value and put it back on the tax roll.
Is this more space than you need right now?
Great question. We did planning after we hired Perkins & Will, great architecture firm that's rehabbed many towers all over the world. They specialize in this, but we did space planning. And the space planning was not just for city needs as far as departments today, but 20 years from now. As the city, as we talked about earlier, as the city continues to grow, some departments with technology won't grow at all. Others will have greater needs. But this is designed to give us enough space for city growth for decades. And it will also, we've got rental buildings that were leased. People don't realize community development, IT, Parks and Rec, those people are housed today because we don't have enough room in other facilities that we pay leases on.
Wow.
Your tax money is paying, no offense, paying lease money. So we will be able to integrate those departments in Citizens Tower.
Very good.
So last night y'all went into, that has something to do with Citizens Tower, but y'all were talking about the police substations.
Yes.
And what the original plan was to move from City Hall to the Citizens Tower and turn City Hall into a police station.
Yes. The headquarters.
The headquarters, yes. Right.
Yes,
is that still what y'all are looking at doing?
That's still on the table. Mm-hmm. That's still an option. That's the option that some of us, as this new council evolves, some of us that remained from the previous council, Mayor Pro Tem Latrell Joy and Councilwoman Karen Gibson and myself, that was our master plan. Mm-hmm. As Chief Greg Stevens, our police chief, and Jared Atkinson, our new city manager, have come into the fold with a substation plan. We have now looked at other alternatives. So there's a possibility that we could sell the current City Hall building and have a different police headquarters. We do want, and Councilman Steve Massingale is the chair of our facilities committee and did a great job yesterday explaining our options. But our master plan, as we kind of started talking about earlier, gentlemen, is that as the city grows, we don't necessarily need a Taj Mahal of a downtown police headquarters. We do need an administration component, probably in the neighborhood of 45 to 50,000 square feet. Today they inhabit approximately about that amount.
And their current location
at Municipal Square.
Yes, and it is awful, I understand. They said a wrecking ball is the only thing.
It's embarrassing that we have, these are people that go out there and risk their lives every day for our citizens, and that we've still got them in that old Municipal Square building. Yeah. And that building also, in our master plan, that block will probably be sold off and put back on the tax roll.
Okay. Well, when you come back, we've got to go to break now, but when we come back, could we talk about maybe if you've got any numbers, difference in prices, and what we'd be looking at with that?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. 7:28 this morning here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Enjoying our visit with City Councilman Jeff Griffith, and we'll be back and talk more about the goings-on at the city after this. News Talk, 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. 7:36 this morning, 60 degrees. High forecast today of 98 degrees. Do have a Councilman Jeff Griffith is our guest this morning until 8 o'clock. And we do have a text message this morning, and he's saying the municipal square building, if it's so uninhabitable, why would we want to sell it to a private investor, Jeff?
Good. That's a very good question, and I appreciate somebody's texting in. The municipal square building, let me give a little bit of history, not to bore your listeners, but in 1934, that was a fire station. 1938, it became City Hall and a fire station. And so the city's occupied that building for many decades. We've not kept it up very well. We've done a lousy job at taking care of what we have sometimes. And in this case, in fact, there's a jail component in the bottom of that. There's the EOC, our emergency center. Now we're building a new emergency center, emergency operations center out North MLK on the way to the airport. With our fire chiefs doing a great job in that project. But
is that going to be in a fire station?
Yes, close to that fire training center. And it's made the construction of that facility, and I'll get off on a tangent, but that is made to handle an F5 tornado. It is built like no other building as far as being able to house emergency operations if we ever had a catastrophic incident. Hopefully never do, but you've got to be ready for a city of 250,000 people. And so fire, police, Lubbock Power and Light, water, all those entities are involved in that emergency operations center. It's under construction today. Back to Municipal Square building. Yes, we haven't taken care of it very well. We think that because of its location, it is a valuable block, and long-term, somebody can use it. We've had inquiries already at the city about that block, so we believe it's a sellable piece of property, sellable block. But that has been morphed. That was originally, like I said, not in the 30s. It's four buildings kind of morphed into one. Our municipal court is there, and the traffic department, which also the traffic department will be moved into Citizens Tower.
Okay, and we were before we went into the break, we were talking about the difference in price between what we were looking at and what we're looking at now. In other words, we were looking at moving the city into Citizens Tower and then moving the police station into City Hall and having a large police station. Now we're looking at possibly having to build a new center, but that's smaller, and then having a lot of substations.
Matt,
and
yes.
so price-wise, what would we be looking at there?
Okay. And this is where we had some very good discussion between council members as Councilman Massengill rolled out this option yesterday, as far as the pricing goes. And I believe, as we've been talking about, that cities can inhabit older buildings for decades, and we've proven that with Municipal Square. We just haven't taken very good care of it. The current City Hall building was the original Sears building built in the late 40s. It's a very good building, in my opinion. It's 103,000 square feet. It's been City Hall since 1984. If we were to put the police headquarters into that building, ample space, probably more than we need with Chief Stevens' new plan. But our numbers to rehabilitate that facility vary from about 20 to 25 million up to, we had one that was close to $40 million, depending on at what level you rehabilitate it. If we build new, there's a chance you could build new for the same money, a smaller facility. How we finance this is very important, gentlemen, to the big picture of this, because we don't want to raise taxes. And if we were to take it to a bond election and let citizens vote on this master plan of substations. That the total cost of that was given yesterday in our presentation. $45 million to $65 million was the numbers for 3 substations and a police downtown headquarters.
Okay.
Whether it's in the current, possibly in the current City Hall building, as Matt, you mentioned, or if we build new.
Okay, as far as the substations are concerned, are you just going to have the 3 or 4 substations, or are you because there's been talk about putting them into fire stations and things like that?
Great question. Thank you for bringing up the fire station component. We actually, today on West 82nd, we have police utilizing part of a fire station now. So we're kind of testing that method now. We as a council,
you have you have police that are officing out of that fire station.
yes,
on
kind
West
of.
82nd?
They're kind
So
of
they're
cohabitating
operating as a precinct right now.
Yes, absolutely. And this is
how's it
kind of
working?
new. And see, we've got a great. I have to brag in on our police chief and our fire chief. A lot of times, those 2 entities don't work that well together. In this city, we've got 2 gentlemen that work great together and want to continue this. And so, yes, this is being considered as we build out this substation model, that maybe you coexist, fire and police,
Well, why wouldn't you?
together.
It seems like it'd be
on
far
city.
more efficient.
Absolutely, if it's in the right location. As the city grows, you have to build fire stations.
Yeah.
So the right placement is critical. That's something that Chief Stevens and Jared Atkinson, our city manager, they have to determine the locations. And we've got data on where they should be. We've seen some studies, but neighborhoods change. There's no doubt over decades neighborhood change. So you darn sure don't want to put it today in the wrong location.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be a 20, 30-year plan.
True enough about that. Well, that sounds like, I hadn't thought of that. That sounds like a great idea. We've got these fire stations that are strategically scattered around the city. Why not let them coexist with our police?
And we sure, if we can keep from it, something this council is pretty determined about is not buying property to build this out. Let's use property the city already owns.
Yeah. Okay, we've got one more segment here with Councilman Jeff Griffith, our guest this morning here on KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We'll return with more after this. 95.1 FM and 790 AM. We are KFYO Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. 7:47 a.m. It's 60 degrees in lively Lubbock today, and we are talking with Councilman Jeff Griffith, and that's Lubbock City Councilman Jeff Griffith, in case anyone is confused. And we have Michael on the phone. Let's go to Michael. And, you're going to need to put I'm sorry. I got a little ahead of you there. We got to get some earphones on our guest. Can you hear?
No, nobody else wanted to talk to him.
Michael, thank you for calling in. You're one of the few that wants to wants to talk to me.
I enjoy talking to him all the time. Sometimes I consider him my council member, even though he's not in my district. But anyway, originally, Jeff, municipal court was planned to be in Citizen Tower, as I remember. I've slept a few nights since then. And that first plan that came back that had all the extra break rooms and, a little too lavish on each floor.
Yes.
And the comment was made at the time, if you reconfigure this, there's going to be room for the municipal court on the, basically on the ground floor maybe or something. And it seems like we're kind of expanding the mission in some regards. Of course, you and I have talked about the City Hall and how to reconfigure it better, but I think one of the good suggestions yesterday actually came from Karen, saying, why don't we, since the police department doesn't need all that space, why not put the municipal court and the police department in our original building? And I think that's what y'all are kind of comparing cost on. But as I told you, all you need to do is do away with the escalators and put a floor all the way across there, and you've got a lot more space in there than we have now. It's not configured well, but anyway, that's. I just kind of wondered because I remember that the municipal court was originally supposed to be one of those departments that was going to condense over into Citizens Tower. So.
Yes, and you got a good memory. That is exactly
Some people
correct
wish I didn't.
on the original plan. And so when Ms. Gibson brought that up yesterday, I agree that that's a possibility that could be. We even looked at if that building, Ms. Ward, on the corner, which I call the
Right.
Please excuse me.
Used to be a funeral home.
It used to be. I call it the funeral home building. I thank you for sharing that with the listeners. That would also house when City Manager James Loomis started that process early on, that we possibly could use that also as municipal court. So
How many
with
square feet does it have, Jeff? Do you happen to know?
13,000.
Okay.
So it's about the right amount of space,
Right.
to your point,
Right.
Michael, and so that's still in play. I think there's a play of the building that we've now scraped, or that lot, which used to be the original Lubbock Chamber of Commerce building, that is due. It's a lot that's due directly east of Citizens Tower.
I was just kind of concerned yesterday with the amount of everything needed to be new and improved, and sometimes we need to do the least expensive thing we can, and I'm glad you're taking it to the voters, but it needs to be a good package that people feel like is not just so expensive that we can't ever get it paid for. So.
Right.
We appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you for calling, and I appreciate your remembering that.
Well, and that's a good question. You said you threw out a number there, $50 million maybe, to enact this entire plan. I have no reference for that kind of. I mean, that's a lot of money to me, but is that a lot of money to the city of Lubbock?
Wow.
Is it something?
It is a lot of money. Ms. Ward would, if she was still on the line, she would have commented, and she and I have had this discussion many times, gentlemen, is our city debt. And any time that we borrow money and we have dollars out there that we got to pay back, we're paying interest.
Sure.
So living within your means is important as a city government. At the same time, public safety is our job. And when you're talking about public safety, it costs a lot. People don't realize that, our fire department costs about, it's a little under $50 million a year to operate. Our police department is over $60 million a year to operate. Okay?
I'm surprised. I had no idea. That's interesting.
So that kind of gives you a reference, Dave, as what public safety cost us, okay?
Mm-hmm. So over $100 million a year.
Yes, sir.
So I guess the question is, if we were to spend this $50 million on this upgrade, is that something that would require? It would require a bond, which would be a tax, a temporary tax increase. Do we have any clue as to like how much and how long?
Yes, great question. Let's look at two different options. One yesterday that was brought up is a possibility of bringing it to the citizens, and that with a bond election, and basically you're voting to raise your own taxes if you do that, instead of us, your city council, voting and saying we're just going to finance this and we're going to go up on your taxes anyway.
Well, you hear the music. Gosh, an hour has just flown by, Jeff. I think we could talk until noon. This is some really good information that I have become aware of that I was unaware of. We've been talking with Lubbock City Councilman Jeff Griffith, and glad to have you. Thanks for coming, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Y'all have a great weekend, great Memorial weekend.
Absolutely.
Be safe.
7:53 a.m., and we'll be back after this.